We started getting questions early in the season about trees and shrubs that may have had some winter damage, and the classic ones that we got questions about included butterfly bush, which is suffrutescent, roses, hibiscus, boxwood, hydrangeas, buttonbush, you name it, we had questions about some shrubs. It's almost Father's Day, and that means if you're not seeing those plants come out of their winter doldrums, you probably have a dead plant. So if we start looking at butterfly bush, these are old plants, and you might notice that we're not only seeing just a little bit of growth on this one and a lot more on some of the others, but we're also seeing some cane injury. And whether in fact that is due to a poor connection from the root system when these tried to come back out after the winter, or an insect, it's a little hard to tell. Nevertheless, this is not a good sign. You also, if you have plants like butterfly bush that have not started throwing any shoots whatsoever by this time of the season, it is time for you to start thinking about starting over. Hardy hibiscus is another plant that is very late to break dormancy, but if you have a plant that looks like this, a couple of things are going on. First off, it's in the wrong spot, had winter injury, maybe some herbicide damage, maybe a critter got into the roots or the shoots, but you clearly don't want this plant as one that you think is going to contribute to your landscape. You're after one that has a lot of stems, strong stems, getting ready to set those flower buds and begin blooming one bloom at a time, one day long, from about the 1st of July all the way through the season. So this is a plant that probably is not going to be one you want to keep in your landscape. A lot of our shrub roses forgot the word shrub this year, and that includes the knockouts and a lot of the other ones. And you can see these have tried to come back. They have a handful of blooms on them, some reasonably good shoots, but you also look into the crown and you can see where all the damage was and all the death was during the winter months. One of the things, again, to look at if you do have shrub roses in your landscape is to make sure that those connections for those new shoots are strong. Make sure that if they are not grown on their own root, in other words, if they're grafted, that those shoots are not coming from below the graft union. And if you really want to look at a tough and hardy rose that is a shrub, consider next year moving to the rugosa type roses. Very thorny, very fragrant, maybe not as long a season of bloom, but you are very unlikely to get this kind of winter damage out of them. In the eastern part of the state in particular, we did get a lot of calls about death in boxwoods, and this is what it looks like. So this time of year, if you have these dead brown canes in boxwood, that is a former cane. You can see this is an older one. It is exposed to the west and the south. It is trying to throw some new growth in the interior of the plant, but if you have an entire side of a shrub, a boxwood like this that is showing this, the chances of it regrowing into something that really is useful in your landscape are pretty slim. So in conclusion, if you have plants this year that have really not begun to leaf out or show any signs of good growth, especially shrubs, it really is time to think about those as former shrubs and get some new ones started in your landscape.